This week, Group C will be announcing their distributions, and I'm going to give you my guesstimate for each one along with the weekly pairs. Then we'll take a look at ULTY and MSTY to see what it did today, and also show you my day trade that I made for the day. Hello my friends, this is Legend. I'm going to go through Group C along with the weekly pairs, and I'm going to give my guesstimate for each one. I'm working on a spreadsheet to help with that guesstimate, but it is still just that. It is just a guesstimate, right? As I'm not necessarily tracking the option plays that they're making, but we'll see how close my guesstimate distributions will be. So this again will be on Group C and the weekly pairs. All right, so here we are on my little spreadsheet that I've been working on. This is not available yet. I'm still working on it, and I'm not even sure how close it will be to guesstimating those distributions. But again, I do just like to make up some sheets just for fun, and we'll see how close they actually are. So the first thing on this sheet, what we would do is we enter in the pay date. And I've already got that in here, as the pay date for Group C will be 9/19, which is this coming Friday. Then I can pick the group letter right here, and I got a little drop down, and this will be for Group C. And there you go. So it populates all the tickers for Group C. And as you can see, there they all are. It's all populated. This here is the payout schedule, and it's going to be every 4 weeks. So really, this one here is not going to change. And therefore, there are 13 payouts per year because it's every 4 weeks. Whenever I select that group letter, it will enter in the ticker symbol, and then it will also pull in the price from the past Friday. Now, if I already knew what that NAV was for the weekend, I could put it right in here into this override area, and it will override this. But since I don't know what that is, I will keep with the calculated Friday closing price. And that's what this is basically. It's pulling the Friday's closing price of each ticker. But like I said, if I knew what that actual NAV rate was, I can enter it in right here. So if that NAV was actually, say, $10.25, then whenever I enter that, it will change this to the $10.25. Now, it will note over here that the override is active, okay? Because this will override the calculation from pulling the Friday's price. And why do I pull the Friday price? And that's just because that is the last day of the trading day for the payouts. It's all calculated all the way up to that Friday. This week's earnings are actually going toward the next distribution. Okay? So that's why it's pulling that Friday date, unless you enter in that override here. Now, if I don't want to use it, then I can just delete that, and it will then pull back in that past Friday price. And just to show you what I mean, we'll take a look here at AMDY on the chart, just to show you that it is the 772 is that Friday price. All right, so here we are on AMDY, and I'm looking for that Friday price. Well, today is the 16th, and that's Tuesday. So there's the 15th and then the 12th. So 9/12 is indeed this past Friday. And we can look up there in the left-hand corner, and you'll see right here, this C being closing price. That's what the C stands for. So look at this number right here. Whenever I hover over the 12th, it is $7.72. So it is indeed actually pulling the closing price from September the 12th. So that confirms that that is actually pulling that correct price. Well, the only thing that you've got to work a little bit to punch in on this, outside of just entering that date, selecting the drop down, is the distribution rate. The only place that you can get that is off of the YieldMax website. So I'll show you what I mean by that. So we'll take a look at the first one here, ABNY. So here we are on the YieldMax website. So the first thing we'll do is go to ABNY, and we'll do the little drop down for the covered calls right here. And we'll just look for ABNY. And you can see it's right here. We click it, and right there's the distribution rate. And it's 38.99. So we'll enter in 38.99 for the distribution rate. And then that is going to calculate the estimated distribution payout, which I'm calculating about 30 cents. So you would do that for each one of these. And if you can get that distribution rate from what it reads over the weekend, that may be even a better or closer to the estimated distribution. I don't know, because I'm just now doing this for the first time myself. So let me just show one more time on AMDY. And here we are on AMDY, and it's 90.68. So we enter in 90.68. So AMD is looking to have a distribution of 53 cents. Okay, so you would do that for each one of these. So rather than going to the website, pulling it, and then punching it in, I'll just enter them in as we go. So Coney, looking like about 34 cents. CVNY with an 80.87% for $2.54. Dre with 58.55% for $2.25. We got Fiat with a 114% distribution rate for 27 cents. And now we're coming to GMEY. Now this one here is not showing that price because Google Sheets is not recognizing that ticker symbol yet. It is just still too new. Now, of course, GMEY will not announce their distribution until October 15th. So this one here will not be announcing this week. It will be on the next rotation. So for that one, we'll just skip it as it was not going to pay out this week anyway. And for Hui, let's see what will get paid out for that one. And I'm looking at about a 74.5% distribution rate, which will put us at about $3.87 for Hui. For MSFO, looks like about 31 cents. Nefly looks like about 46 cents. And PYPY looks like about 34 cents. Now, do keep in mind again, these are just guesstimates. We will find out tomorrow what they're actually going to be paying out. And we'll see how close my guesstimate was. The few that I am watching, of course, is Hui for $3.87. Coney, which I do have, for 34 cents, and AMD for 53 cents. We'll see if I was close or if I'm just way off. Now let's just slide right over to the weeklies and let's see what it looks like my guesstimate will be for those. And here we are on the weeklies. As you can see, it's already got the ticker symbols in there. There are 52 payouts per year. It is a weekly schedule, and it's already brought in that Friday price, okay? So, again, for those distribution rates, it will be the same thing. We go to the website, we type in that distribution rate, and then it spits out what that estimated distribution would be. So, we'll start right off with the first one here of CHPY. I'm guesstimating about 38 cents. GPTY, 29 cents. LFGY with 37 cents. QDTY with 17 cents. RDTY with 25 cents. SDTY with 14 cents. SLTY, I'm guesstimating about 51 cents. And for ULTY, my guesstimate is 9 cents for an 85% distribution rate. For YMAG, 14 cents, and of course YMAX with 13 cents. So I don't know how close I'll be, but we'll find out tomorrow. But these are my guesstimates for this week's Group C and the weeklies. So now let's just go to the Webull chart and let's just check out to see where ULTY and MSTY stand today. Here we are on ULTY, and we are looking at the actual chart, and as you can see, we had a little bit of an up day. Not a big up day, but it was green. So any green, I'll take it, right? That was that support line or resistance line that we were trying to break or stay above, right? We did break above it yesterday, but since we were touching it, it's not necessarily a confirmed candle. Now today, we actually did confirm up. That, of course, is a good sign. And let's switch it over to the adjusted chart and let's check out the indicators. All right, so here we are on the adjusted chart. And let's just go ahead and let's turn on the Bollinger Band first. And you can see we are indeed at the top of that Bollinger Band. And we are pushing it up. That's a great sign. Love to see that. You can see the momentum here is green. It is moving up. That's a good sign. We did get that cross, so that I do love. So with ULTY going up, of course, it is not a potential buy point for me. I do have my buy set in here, and you can see right there, there's my buy at $5.30. So if it does come down to that point, it will buy up another 25 shares for me. And do notice that buy point is now right there on the bottom side of that Bollinger Band. So if it did come down and it ran all the way down to the bottom of that Bollinger Band, it's going to pick up another 25 shares for me. Now my current average, and this is my purchase average, right? It's at $5.66 for all 150 shares. So I am really close to about a break even just on my purchase price. And that does not take into account of my distributions that I am capturing, because I'm not rolling or dripping my distributions. I am capturing because I am trying to get all of my YieldMax ETFs paid off first before I go too heavy in the purchases of the shares. And I've talked about that in great lengths at times. And I know that is not the popular method, but it is the method that I am using for these higher risk, high yield plays. So let's just take a look at MSTY and let's just see, did it go up, down, or sideways today along with MSTR? Okay, so here we are on MSTY and we're looking at the actual chart on MSTY. For the actual chart, we're using it to see about any kind of resistances or supports. We had our support down here just at the floor, right? That was the floor that we had hit back here. And we can clean that up a little bit because it's actually at 1484. So let's just clean that up right here and make that 1484. So it is at the bottom of that candle. Now let's see, do we have a potential resistance line? And honestly, I think we are sitting currently at that line. So I'm going to put it right there. As you can see, a lot of touches and rejections at that point. So I've got it at a roughly around this 1582 right here. And that's just above what the current price is. Now if we can break past that, hopefully we can keep moving this one on up. But again, it all depends on MSTR. But before we get to MSTR, let's take a look at the Bollinger Band and let's see, is it a potential buy point or where would that potential buy point be? And to do that, we'll look at the adjusted chart with the Bollinger Band. And you can see that Bollinger Band is tightening up, right? We're squeezing in on that price. That midpoint of that Bollinger Band, it did cross today. So that is a very nice thing to see. We are above it currently. You can see the momentum here is building up on the green side. Not very fast, but it is increasing. We did get that cross on the MACD and we are still separating from it. So that's great. And of course the RSI 2 along with the RSI 14 is starting to move up. So all those are great signs if we can continue on with it. But what is going to push MSTY up or down, of course, would be how MSTR reacts. And here we are on MSTR, and you can see we had this line right here, and this was our support line over here. And then once we broke down and confirmed below it, it became a resistance line. So now we are trying to poke through it again. Today we did go through it and close above it. Now that's not a confirmation, because for a confirmation candle, we need the full candle to live above that resistance line. Then we can move that term from resistance to support line. I would love to have the 333.40 as a support line, but we'll see what tomorrow brings. But one good thing, of course, is that MACD is crossed and we are slightly separating, right? Moving up. The momentum bars are increasing here. And for the Bollinger Band, you see that we are as well tightening up on that Bollinger Band and squeezing in on that candle. Now, it is sitting right there at that midpoint of the Bollinger Band. Would love to see tomorrow open above it and use that midpoint of that Bollinger Band as a support and start bouncing off of it and move this Bollinger Band on up and out. That would be great. Would love to see Mr. moving on up, because that's going to help Misty move on up. And of course, we did have a nice move on Bitcoin today. And here we are on Bitcoin. You can see we had that nice green candle for the day. Considering yesterday we had that red candle, but it was a very much of an indecision candle, right? Long wick on top, right? A long wick on top and a long wick on bottom. So it was not sure what to do, right? We had those couple of days where it was coming down, but something stopped it, right? And those had to be probably buyers, and those buyers pushed it right on back up. Now, we did get past the high of yesterday, and that high of yesterday being 116.7, and today we got as high as 117 even. Now, currently we are sitting right there at the top of that 116.7. So right there, that is a bit of a resistance line, right? If we can break on past that, we can continue moving this thing on back up and hopefully start testing these other resistance lines that were originally support lines. But would love to see Bitcoin moving up and out of this 116 range and move it back into the 117 and 118 and get this thing moving. That would be wonderful. And for the last piece, I wanted just to talk briefly on my day trade that I did do today. And that day trade was on SPY. All right. Well, SPY has been pretty rough to try to sell a put against, because normally you want to try to sell a put on a red day. It just helps you to get more premium, right? But let me just show you something. This is the day chart on SPY. All right. I mean, look at this. Up, up. I mean, even when there was a red candle, it was still high, right? It was still moving up on a trend. Up, 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 up. And here is today's candle, which was a red candle. Now, it is still on that upward trend, but I decided to go ahead and sell a put. And you can see it's still showing that put. Now, that did expire today, as it was a 658 put for September 16th, which is today. Meaning that if the price of SPY dropped and stayed below 658 by close of today, then I would have got put those shares, and I would have been assigned 100 shares at 658 per share. Now, for doing that, I did earn a little bit of premium. Now, I didn't earn much premium, and I'll show you why. And we'll show that here on this 5-minute chart. So when I had first drawn my lines in, first thing in the morning, I would draw that bottom line and the top line from yesterday's high and close. So let me zoom out a little bit, and you can see right here, this is yesterday, right? Because here's today, and I'll slide over, here's yesterday. So I would do the high and the low of yesterday's market hours, right? So that high and low gives me that red and green line. So when it came out, it was already above the high from yesterday. So it was already looking like I wasn't going to be able to sell a put for the day, because I want it to come down and test that low from yesterday and then try to sell a put right underneath it, right? So when it came out, it was still up here, right? It was still at 661, right? It was in this area. Crazy, right? I mean, we're hitting all-time highs just about every single day, it seems like, as we did hit it again today on that candle right there. And like I said, whenever it came out and it's at the all-time high again, I just shook my head and thought, well, not selling a put today because I figured it was probably going to bounce off of this high from yesterday and just continue moving on up, right? So I didn't pay it no attention at that point. Well, it actually ended up breaking below the high of yesterday and it started coming down. And of course, I didn't notice it until about right in this area right here, okay? As it was coming down. And then I saw it, so I thought, okay, well, we are in this 659 area, and I'm going to sell a put at 658 even, thinking that if it does break below this thing's going to fall pretty hard, right? That's just my thought. Well, it came down, and it touched it really close here, and then started moving up. Well, my put that I had, I was asking for a certain price of premium, right? Well, it didn't get there. And then it started moving up. And of course, that premium price then decreases until it started going here. And I had moved that price for my premium up. So I only got about $30. So not a whole lot for selling a put at this cost, right? But I will tell you my end goal here in a minute. But when it did come down, it actually ended up triggering and actually filling that order. So that candle here is the one that actually triggered, and actually I was able to get that $30 roughly for that contract for a 658. Well, as you can see, it dropped below it, but it did not stay there long. It popped it right back up and it stayed up here. So it did not go down any further. As you can see, it actually just stayed right in this area. So that 658 right here never did get assigned. So therefore, I did not have to pay anything to close it. It just expired worthless. I keep 30 bucks. I don't have to pay anything and it expires worthless. And then by the end of the day, it just goes away, right? Your broker will take care of it at that point. Now, the reason why I was willing to take such a small premium, okay, and that was a 30 delta, right? And that's a pretty high delta. And the only reason why it was such a small premium is because I'm doing a day trade here, right? And I didn't get in until here, which was about noontime. So there's only 4 hours left in the play. And that's why there's not much premium, because there's not much time built in. Now, had this happened back here at the first of the day, then the premium would have been nice, right? It'd have been probably closer to maybe 70 bucks or something like that, right? I'd at least got double what I got at noontime today, because time is money, right? If there's more time value in that option play, then it's going to pay you more. But with only 4 hours, the fact that it was not breaking yesterday's previous low meant that the premium was just not going to get very high in the price, right? So I went ahead and bumped it up to that 29 or 30, and that did go through, so I got to keep that. And like I said, just expired worthless. Now, why would I take such a small amount for so much on the table, right? And the reason being is because I would be looking to get assigned. And that's right. I actually would like to have got assigned at the 658 so that tomorrow my hopes would be to see it move back up to 660, right? Or even higher, 661 or so. And then sell that call at that 661 or 662 just above the price, earn a nice premium for it. And if it does get called away at say 660, that's $2 per share times 100. That's $200 in just the day. And that's why I wouldn't mind getting assigned. Now, I wouldn't do this on just any stock, right? I'm not going to be that aggressive on a more speculative stock. I'm using SPY, which is the S&P 500, right? And if you can see here on this 5-year chart, there's that 200 MA. It's just staying right above it, right? Love it. And even on the 1-year chart, it did drop down below it right here, but it did end up getting back, right? So it basically is staying above that 200 MA here as well. So that's what I'm looking for whenever I'm looking for stocks. I'm looking for something that stays above that 200 MA. And why is that? Because that gives me a little bit more assurance that this stock or ETF is moving up and to the right, right? And it's staying above that 200. That is my support, right? So with that all said, I wouldn't necessarily sell something so close and so aggressive on something that may be trading more sideways or under the 200 MA or something like that. So I just wanted to make sure I was clear on that. I'm not just picking a stock and saying, well, it's above the 200 MA. I'm going to go ahead and sell an aggressive put on that. I'm looking at the big picture here. What is it telling me on the big picture? And if it looks good on the big picture, that doesn't guarantee that it's going to stay that way, but at least it puts a little bit more of the odds in my favor. So anyway, I do like selling those aggressive puts and calls on SPY, but with the market, the way it's been moving up, it's been very difficult to sell those puts. So I think I'm going to wrap it up right there. And I appreciate everybody for sticking around, and we'll see also if my estimated distributions here are even close or not, right? So we'll see how close or how far away I actually am. So if you enjoy this type of content, please hit that subscribe button or smash the like. It'd be much appreciated. And as always, I am not a financial advisor. This is not financial advice. Please do your own due diligence before you get into any stock plays. And until next time, Legend out.